In this video, we're going to be going over how to solve absolute value equations. The first example that we're going to go over today is x minus 9. Well, the absolute value of x minus 9 equals 5. So whenever we have an absolute value, our first goal is going to be to get the absolute value by itself. In this case, we already have the absolute value on one side by itself. There's no lingering numbers like 5 minus, for example. So once we get to this point, we break down the absolute value equation into two separate equations. One is going to look exactly the same, just without the absolute value. And the other is going to have the left side looking the same without the absolute value. And on the right side, we need to multiply by -1. So on the right side of our second equation, we're going to have -5. And from here, we're going to solve. So on the left equation, in order to get x by itself, we have to add 9 to both sides. X is going to equal 5 plus 9, which is 14. On the right side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add 9 on both sides. And we're going to end up with x equals -5 plus 9, which is going to be 4. And these are our two answers for this question. Most absolute value questions are going to have two solutions. Sometimes you'll have what's known as an extraneous solution, and we'll be going over that in a later video. The next question that we're going to be going over is 3 times the absolute value of m plus 8 equals 39. The first step here is to get the absolute value by itself. Notice we have a 3 multiplying on the outside. The way we get rid of this 3 is by dividing by 3 on both sides. On the left side, the 3's cancel, and we're left with the absolute value of m plus 8 equals, and on the right side, 39 divided by 3 is going to be 13. Now, like the first question, we have the left side, the absolute value by itself on the left side. So now we branch it off into two separate equations. One is going to look exactly the same, just without the absolute value. The other equation is going to look exactly the same, but the right side of the equal sign, we're going to multiply by -1. The first equation, we get m by itself by subtracting 8. So we'll get that m equals 13 minus 8, which is going to be 5. And in the second equation, we're going to do the same thing. Subtract 8 on both sides. And here we'll have that m equals -13 minus 8 is going to be -21. And these are the two solutions for this question. The third problem that we're going to be going over today is the absolute value of y minus 10 over -2 equals -6. The first step here is to get the absolute value by itself. We do that by moving the 2 over the -2, and we need to multiply by -2 on both sides in order to get rid of that denominator. So on the left side, -2's cancel, and we're left with the absolute value of y minus 10 equals -6 times -2 is going to be +12. At this point, we're going to break the absolute value equation down into two separate equations. One is going to be y minus 10 equals 12. The other is going to be y minus 10 equals -12. On the left side, we need to add 10 to both sides in order to get y by itself. Here we're going to have y equals 12 plus 10, which is 22. With the equation on the right, we're going to add 10 as well. And we're going to get that y equals -12 plus 10 is going to be -2. And these are our two solutions for this equation. The last question that we're going to go over today is 9 minus 4 times the absolute value of c plus 10, which equals -15. Remember, our first goal is to get the absolute value by itself. We do that first by subtracting 9 on both sides. On the left side, we're left with negative 4 times the absolute value of c plus 10, which equals negative 15 minus 9, which will be negative 24. The next step will be to divide by negative 4 on both sides. On the left side, the negative 4's cancel, and we're left with the absolute value of c plus 10 equals, and on the right side, negative 24 divided by negative 4 is going to be 6. Now that we have the absolute value by itself, this breaks down into two separate equations. One will be c plus 10 equals 6. The other will be c plus 10 equals negative 6. The first equation, we need to subtract 10 on both sides. And we're going to get that c equals 6 minus 10, which is negative 4. The second equation, we're going to do the same thing, subtract 10 on both sides. And we're going to get that c equals negative 6 minus 10, which is negative 16. And these are going to be our two answers for this question.